Hello and welcome to another episode of Autogefühl, today with me AJ and Holger. I am here at the CES 2020. Now you might be thinking, what does the Consumer Electronics Show have to do with cars? Well, as you can see behind me, quite a few things actually. So stick around and we'll see what's cool and what's interesting here at the show. Well, it's really interesting to see that Sony now has a car here at the CES 2020. I mean, I never expected this, and to tell me a little bit more about this, I have Carl here from Sony. So first of all, Carl, you actually watch our show, so it's great to have somebody else from the Autogefühl community. So let's start off by, there's so much to talk about. Let's start out with the design. I see a lot of German influence, I see a new logo, but I see something that looks, dare I say, production ready. So what is the concept behind the design? Let's start with that.
Absolutely. So we unveiled the vehicle on our press conference, day one of CES. And this is a concept car, but as you said, when you look at it, the fit, the finish, the attention to detail is impeccable. And this is a vehicle that we do plan on having on the road in 2020 in some capacity in terms of testing and things like that. And the design ethos and everything was built by Sony from the ground up. So this isn't a vehicle that we took someone else's chassis and then just built it up and put all the Sony goodies into it. This is a Sony vehicle through and through. But what it is a culmination of a lot of the things that we already do in the automotive mobility space in terms of the fantastic sensor technology that we develop and make, to the infotainment system, because Sony being a unique company that creates great video and audio products, in an EV, right, we're spending a lot more time in traffic, but also when we sit down to charge. So we need to have a space that when you're inside, you have something to do for those 10, 15, 20 minutes of charge time. And we really tried to create an in-cabin experience that's like nothing else available on the market. So that's where Sony is a very unique proposition, because of the fact that in terms of the safety, the potential, and what we can do to make autonomous driving better in the future, but also the experience we offer inside the vehicle as well.
It's really interesting. So you said that you guys also developed the powertrain and the drivetrain together, so essentially that modular skateboard. How much time did that take? I know that even for you, this is a very surprising unveiling, but maybe a little bit more detail about the technical specs and what can we expect, and why was it chosen to be either performance-oriented or comfort-oriented? A little bit about that maybe.
So definitely with this, something that's been in development very quietly within Sony, and very select few people that were actually working on this project for a couple years now. And that's what really kind of made it quite shocking and exciting for ourselves here at Sony, but also the whole world to be able to see this car come to fruition. And again, what's really exciting about this is the fact that it does have the spec and performance of EVs that are available to buy today. So when you actually look at the 0 to 60 times in the mid-4s, to the performance of 200 kilowatts for each motor in the front and the rear. So, you can actually see that this is a very capable EV as it stands today if it was sold today. So it definitely will hold its own against anything that's available on the market today. But when you look at the safety component and what we can bring to the table in terms of how we can make sure we know what's around the vehicle and what's coming, and also what we can do inside the vehicle, I think that's where this is a really unique statement from Sony to show we can work and fit in this space and potentially become a player. Right now, again, it is a pure concept, but we do have plans on seeing what we can do with the car in the future, driving it, and based on the show feedback, we'll make decisions on what we're going to do. But you're going to not have this car disappear. We are still going to have it front of mind for a lot of people and continue to update the world on what our intentions are.
So as a concept, dare I say a proof of concept, but I can also see, and perhaps this is, you can tell me a little bit more about that, is that now that you've kind of adapted your technology, the kind of philosophy that you have for electric cars, like you said, instead of having the person charge the car and go out for a coffee, have an in-car experience during the charging time. I really like that idea. But maybe now that you have these concepts and you spend a lot of R&D and engineering into fine-tuning your Sony components to electric cars and autonomous cars, do you plan to sell these modules to other OEMs as well?
It's difficult for me to comment on that, to be honest, but we did speak about during our press conference, for example, one of our partners that we do supply a lot of our sensor technology and camera systems to, Lexus. And they've won numerous awards, not only last year, but in prior years, of their forward direction on what they're doing on safety. And a lot of that has to do with the technology Sony developed and helps use in their cars. So this also shows all the other OEMs out there that what Sony has to offer, but also shows the world that if we do take the direction that we do want to make a vehicle, using our technology, how we can innovate the in-cabin experience, but also the look and the feel of the car, this is what we can bring out if we decide to.
Well, really exciting stuff. Carl, thank you so much for your time. And I hope you guys put it into production, and I hope you give me the key so I can test it sometime on Autogefühl.
Nothing make me happier as well than being in the passenger seat beside you.
Thank you. I'm joined by Aaron here at the LG booth at the CES 2020, and behind me is one of their concepts for, well, an autonomous electric car. But it's really interesting to see companies like LG coming into the foray with electric cars and autonomous cars. So can you tell me a little bit about what we have behind us?
Yes, so this is LG's rideshare concept, and they partnered with Adient to build this car. And rideshare, kind of like Lyft and Uber sharing, that's what the concept kind of is based off of. And to enter into the car, you go over to your right-hand side here, and it's a facial recognition scanner for privacy and security, which is really important these days. And once you get in the car, the facial recognition scanner tells you which seat to go to. So each of the seats will be lit up a different color. And once you're in your seat, each of the seats have a personal assistant to control the two OLED screens that are in the car, so one on each side. Now, the personal assistant can control movies, music, sports. You can also get an AR view of the road as well. And what makes the seats really special is that each of the headrests have 8 speakers built in, and they have a noise-canceling technology to where only you can hear what you're listening to. The person next to you can be watching a totally different movie, and you can't hear any of that. Also, some really cool things in the car. There's 2 pieces of LG appliances. There is a snack bar and a mini fridge. And anytime you take anything out of that snack bar and mini fridge, it charges your account right away on the screen. So it knows who is who, because there's a camera up at the top of the car that you can also use hand motions to control the TV. Another appliance in there is our Puri Closet. Our Puri Closet is basically like a mini dry cleaner. So you put your coat in there, it gets the lint off, it steams it, and it freshens it for you. It will also dry it if your coat is wet and it's raining outside. So all of this is ran by LG Web Auto OS, and that is what is controlling the entire car. It is currently being produced in South Korea and is projected to be in the US in about 10 years.
Wow, I can totally see a lot of use for especially that coat dry cleaning facility. Now, since I see there's 2 on 2 each side, the 2 seats, what if there's 4 different people, in the car, and they all want to watch separate things? How do you manage that?
Each of the screens on both sides can be split. So you say, "Hi LG, split screen." And so it splits the screen. And because the seats are all angled to about a 15-degree angle, you're not facing the person in front of you. So when you split the screen, it literally looks like you're watching your own movie, because that's all that's in your side of view. So the person next to you can watch something totally different. And that's where the headrests and the speakers in the headrest come into play well, is because you can see what they're watching, but you can only hear what you're watching. So.
All right, well, really interesting. Thank you so much for your time. I'm here with Eric at the Bosch booth at the CES 2020, and there is this electric skateboard, and it's a modular system that I think has a lot of applicability out in the market. So maybe you can tell me a little bit more about what your plan is with this, what your strategy is, and a little bit more about the technical aspects of this electric skateboard.
Yeah, thanks for asking, AJ. This modular skateboard has been developed together with our partner Benteler. So Bosch and Benteler came together to put up a skateboard which is already able to drive. Benteler is providing the mechanical setup. We are providing the electronic components and doing the system integration. And with this, we are able to set up a skateboard which is already basically half a car. So there's everything in there to steer, to brake, the propulsion system. It's an electric drive system. There's a battery in there. So you just need to put seats and a steering wheel and you can drive around with this thing. The concept behind it is that we want to make it easier for OEMs to build up electric cars. Battery electric cars are quite a challenge today because the OEMs are still stuck with the internal combustion engine cars, need to provide battery electric vehicles to the market, and we want to make the life a bit easier for the OEMs regarding integration effort, engineering effort, and that's why we provide this pre-integrated skateboard solution to the OEMs.
Do you have any current, are you in discussion with some OEMs at the moment? Can we expect to see this skateboard out on the streets in a few years?
You can definitely expect that, yeah. We are, of course, in talks, and in the beginning our thought was that this would be a perfect chance for emerging or upcoming OEMs. Since they don't want to care much about drivetrain, they're about selling ideas, selling visions, selling lifestyle and design, and do not care much about the powertrain part of the car. But to our surprise, we also have intensive talks with classic OEMs, with volume OEMs, since they need also quick solutions for battery electric vehicles. So I'm pretty sure we will see this rolling chassis somewhere on the street. Maybe not in this fashion or in this shape, but at least our pre-integrated components, or at least maybe an axle which we put together with Benteler, so an integrated drivetrain in a mechanical axle being put in a unibody solution of a certain OEM or whoever will be on the street for sure.
Well, thank you. That's very interesting, and good luck.
Thanks a lot.
The CES might be an electronic show, but as we saw, there's a lot of technology that is being showcased here, which is very relevant for the automotive industry. In general, I think concepts like autonomous driving, electrification, connected car technology, IoT, 5G, things like this were very common here at the show. And it was really interesting to see companies like Sony also showcase their own idea of what a future electric car would look like. So, pretty interesting. I'm excited to see what the future holds. I hope you are too. Let me know what you felt. Put it down in the comments below.
So how could a future Mercedes look like? A very distant future Mercedes. What ideas are there? And also, what about sustainability? A big topic here at the CES in Las Vegas this year. Well, here it is, and it's called the Vision AVTR, inspired by the Avatar movie. Let's dig deeper into this very concept. And please, Jonas, do the intro magic. Let's go. So what we can see in the front is that this front, plexiglass grille, this has this EQ language of their electric brand Mercedes EQ. So it does fit into this new EQ liner, definitely, an illuminated Mercedes star. But of course we see it's a very sporty concept, a little bit supercar-alike, you can see, extremely flat. And you can see those round tires standing out. I'll soon talk more about that when we see the car from the rear. And then you also see those wing doors, which are also like very spectacular in the effect. Yeah, I mean, that won't be pretty typical for a normal series production Mercedes model. Of course, there were also windows so far. Not quite this one, but other ones. And the interior will be very important. We will talk about battery technology, of course, because there will be a special battery in this car. We will talk about interior sustainability, which is has very important factor for this one here, and also about other aspects of this very vehicle, because it's supposed also to connect people with their environment. So, but of course, I want to hear your opinion. What is your first impression here when just looking at the exterior? In the back we can see more interesting things. First of all, we can see how the tires stand out, and they are actually round, just like balloons, and also inspired by those AVTR wood spirits, those plant, animal, like beings. See it right there as well. And there's also a sustainability idea behind it, because when it's round like this, the actual surface touching the ground is not that big. You can of course argue then, what's with grip and traction and so on, but just about the idea, of course. And then here, very central and floating lines also at the rear of the car, huge panel opening right there, LED play field, and the light strip that goes all around the vehicle. And most significantly are those flaps, those dragon-alike flaps, even inspired by the movie, that also interact with the environment, go up and down, and can also, for example, display emotion, maybe like at some point, openness or maybe even aggressiveness, but also can serve some aerodynamic functions, maybe as an air brake, or then of course for the drag and so on. So again, pretty interesting ideas. If that has something to do with the real vehicle, that remains doubtful. No question of that. But this is also indeed not a vehicle that is supposed to be like on the market tomorrow, and even not in 5 years. We'll also talk more about that very soon. And of course, the most important thing about this one here is indeed the interior concept, which we will now take a detailed look. And now we're taking a detailed look at the interior of the concept. This one here is a separate, just interior piece, because we have more time to film with that, but it shows everything this concept has to offer. First of all, as for design, you can see a lot of floating lines, both exterior and interior. So it looks on the interior a little bit like on the exterior. And you can see also those curved structures. Everything is supposed to look organic, natural, inspired by nature. And we can also take a look at the materials, because they are actually all recycled. Soon more details to that. You can see here is a bright Dynamica microfiber, for example, with some blue lines. All animal-free. The complete concept here is animal-free. That's also where Mercedes is heading for the future. You maybe also recently heard that Lewis Hamilton is, going big time for that. He wants to, have his influence also on the management. So really cool. So thank you again, Lewis, for that. And we can see this liane-style wood. So taken from special liane trees. Also more to that very soon. We'll take a look at the detailed materials. So it's a matte natural wood, feels very nice, looks very nice. Yeah, on the ground it can maybe catch some scratches. It's a concept. We have to see later on in the real car if the wood will really be placed on the floor area. But definitely interesting to see. And when you take a look at the ceiling here, the inside, also on the top part or the back side of the seats, we can see this blue fabric. We also see something of this in the EQC already, called Sunnyvale seats. So they add another styling element to that one. So over a very, living room style-like interior. And of course, if you use those different fabrics, they're also good for the climate, not only for global climate, but also for the interior climate functions. When you speak about, how you feel with your body in the concept. And we can see here some light effects. Here this central console, which can go up or down depending on if you put your hand there. So again, with this, organic image the whole car has, be more sustainable, more in line with nature and its surroundings. Well, and here you can see how it looks like when there's no flashy, effects all over this integrated front screen. This is also a trend here, definitely we can see on the CES show, that more and more elements dissolve in the car. For example, not separate speakers anymore, like surfaces become a speaker. That could be one element, for example, which is present on CES as well. But here also by Mercedes, that you don't see that it's a screen, but it will become a screen big time. And now I've taken a seat. It's quite interesting indeed, like with this huge glass panel and those half-lying seat. And I'm also joined by Zain Amiralis. He's the manager of Advanced User Experience Design. And he, helps us to get through this experience here, because there's actually, a lot to discover, and actually some features we haven't seen so far in a car. So how do we start?
Well, first off, it's most apparent that we don't actually have any traditional interface elements here to be able to start. Everything's disappeared. Everything's actually merged together with the interior. So to get this journey started, we have this element right here in the middle. It's our merge control. And to get started, I would like you to just put your hand on there and see what happens.
So let's see. Oh, I feel like the seat is vibrating, and also it reacts to my hand a little bit. So that's what you think about, when, oh, yeah, that was me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so what you can see right now is you can also feel your heartbeat is vibrating through the seat. And this is what we mean by human-machine merge. So it's not like you're sitting in a car and you're steering it, but the car is actually an extension of you. So it extends your capabilities, your senses, everything.
Is that like an actual heartbeat measured now, or is it just like at the moment like a fake heartbeat?
No, this is an actual measured heartbeat.
That's my heartbeat at the moment, really? Oh, no, it stopped. Yeah, but
now you've pushed forwards, and now the drive has actually started.
Ah, okay. So yeah, you have to really be aware of what you push. So like when you push forward like this, right?
Correct. So our traditional steering wheel has disappeared. And instead, because we're driving autonomously, the car can do everything by itself. But if we want to influence it in any kind of way, speed up, slow down, maybe change lanes, we can do it with this.
So what we're seeing here right now, I mean, it's like this dream world inspired by Avatar. But this would actually, when we're driving like through the streets of Las Vegas or LA now, you would actually see the street you're driving in.
Correct. In this view, it's more about exploration. So you can see where you are right now and your surroundings. And what's quite interesting here is that you can see quite far. So you can almost see up to the horizon, looking in the vicinity. And on top of that, we enhance what you see. So in this case, you can, for instance, see wind blowing through the trees. Just kind of understand things that normally you would not be able to see.
So you also thought about like displaying magnetic fields or something, right?
Correct. Because this is an avatar-based car, this Vision AVTR, we're looking more at things that have to do with nature. But if we would be driving through the city, it could be any kind of information that we would be blending in there. Maybe areas of interest or areas that are very popular right now.
So what's the meaning of that? Is it just for somewhat entertainment or like excitement, or is there like a deeper meaning behind that?
In this case, it's a deeper meaning. I mean, we look at Pandora in the movie of Avatar, and we see this beautiful planet. But what we want to express here is actually our planet Earth was the inspiration for that. We're already living in this amazing place, so let's take care of it.
So it also has like a message of let's take care about our planet.
Definitely, yes. And what we can do as well is we can jump into different points of interest and then look at a couple of these highlights in more detail. Would you like to try that?
Yeah, sure. That was this magic thing with the hand, right?
Correct. So as all the buttons are missing, to invoke the menu, what we do is we can raise our hand and turn it around. And here you can now see this menu projected inside of my hand palm. I can close to open different menu items. And then if I go over here and I do this, then we can actually see the content changes over here. So imagine you're driving in a new area that you don't know so well, and then different points of interest are nearby, and you want to go see them in more detail, and maybe see what does this look like when it's winter. Then you can fly over there, and you get this kind of like drone flight around the thing, just to understand it better and to be able to enjoy it.
So, and we already talked about this earlier, this could rather be, let's say, like something like Google Street View integrated in the car, because I think it's not that realistic that we have an actual drone flying over the car. It would be more like archive material or something.
Correct. It's not part of the vision that there's an additional element flying around. It really is, you have a catalog of different highlighted, let's say, mini documentaries of things that are around you, and you can experience them as you're driving by, just to give you a bit more entertainment during the drive, and again, really play into this exploration element.
Yeah, so that would be, I mean, we have some GPS systems which have those 3D maps of inner cities or something. That would be like a very, very elaborated version of that, something like this, right?
Exactly, yes. And what we can do besides this is we can also open up real entertainment features and then blend in a whole different world. Would you like to try that?
Yeah, sure. So I can do it with my hand here on the other side?
Yeah, the best is to use your right hand.
Right hand, okay.
So here's our natural interface. Just turn your hand away and then towards you. And there you can see our different items. So that's POIs and there's avatars. So if you close your hand now, you can see the two avatar experiences that we have available. That's the one we have right now. And now if you close your hand right there, it's selected. And there we can see that on the large display, we're now in the Banshee. You can put your hand down and then now we can explore this world of Avatar. We can see it on this large display, we can hear it in 360 degrees sound, and we can also feel vibrations in our seats to enhance this experience even more.
So this would be that you can like change from the real world to more like a cinema-like experience. So.
Exactly that. Right now we're going into another world, but it could also be that you're watching the latest blockbuster movie on here.
So what's your personal vision for that? Is it more infotainment or entertainment, or is it something that just, dissolves into each other?
I think there's definitely a hybrid possible. I think we'll always want to have pure entertainment as well. But also, as we saw in this earlier scene, this kind of like hybrid version. I'm driving through my world, but I get a lot more information about it. I think could be absolutely fascinating.
Would this only be bound to a fully autonomously driving car? Or would that let's say some elements also be possible when there's still the steering wheel?
Well, already in our current MBUX, we have MBUX augmented reality, which also already adds some kind of enhancements to an actual street view, helping us to navigate. But maybe for the passengers in the back, we could imagine something which is actually telling us more about our environment, just to not have any kind of driver distraction.
I mean, I could drive it. It feels a little bit sporty, like with this lying back position. But so do you think this is like a really realistic concept, or would you say like this is like 30 years away, or maybe like 5 years? Is there any estimation of like, because people always ask like, how real is that? Can that be really implemented into a serious car?
Well, for this Vision AVTR, this is based 100 years into the future. So I think we'll...
100 years?
100 years. So this is a really far way off.
Oh, okay. Well, so we are back to the future, it seems. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hartmut Sinkwitz was responsible for the interior of the concept vehicle, and one significant part of it are more sustainable materials. So please elaborate, why did you go for those materials, and what are the advantages, both for the practicability and also for the environment?
Yeah, we are talking a lot about the meaning of nature, giving us a great inspiration for this show car, but also about the perception of the human beings being part of the nature. And therefore it is a clear goal for us that we want to treat nature in a more responsible way, and therefore we are looking for responsible materials that are sustainable, either renewable or recycled.
So we got one example here. We already know it from existing Mercedes cars. A lot of normal models have that, especially the AMG models, the sporty models, usually in black, but in this case a bright dynamic microfiber. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, so it was a very nice finding. We discovered that this material is already much more recycled than we were aware. So this is around 80% coming from recycled materials. The company uses used dynamic materials that has been cut out for the use in the production process and hasn't been used, and they recycle it themselves. Next to that, they also take used textiles and used flags, as well as used PET bottles. And they create with that material these granulates, which they use to produce finally the material that has a very nice soft feeling, like a very natural leather, but in fact it is vegan.
Yeah, I think it's a very important aspect because there's a lot of criticism when you go for like alternative, more sustainable materials. People say, "Oh, wait a minute, they are oil or like petroleum based." But yeah, partly they are, but they're still more sustainable. But you can see you can also do it just from recycled materials, and I mean there's like plenty of material you can recycle that is out there.
Right, exactly. So if you imagine all the materials that is there that can be recycled, it's a great source, so that we don't need to take the oil out of the earth anymore. Instead, we can use much more materials that can be recycled and recycled again, especially when we have clean materials that are not mixed out of many different plastics. So in this case, this is a clean material that can be used endlessly, often, again and again.
Yeah, so more and more of those, for example, microfibers or also the fabrics, they can indeed be also 100% recycled. Is it also the case with the black fabric?
Yes,
blue fabric.
Blue fabric, right. This is really 100% recycled, coming just from
We can go there.
bottles, yes. When we think about covering interior space materials, surfaces, it is of course essential to find materials that have a kind of friendly feeling, and textile is the favorite material in home for sofas, so this is even more convenient than the leather or other harder materials. And so I see a great trend coming to use more textiles. And this example shows that it can be very appealing and also high quality looking. In this case, it's been also, when we talk about the color, it's been inspired by nature, by the sea, and it has a nice changé effect depending on the light that comes towards it.
Yeah, especially in trend like in Scandinavian furniture, where we have more and more fabric materials, really cozy and stuff. And actually, it's also better when it's in the car. In summer, it stays cool, and in winter, it stays warm. And that's actually like, from the climate features wise, the fabric is even better than the Alcantara or Dinamica in this case from the company. So this would actually be the best material for everything. Sometimes people say, like, what about stains and what about like the long-term durability? Did you also look into that?
Yes, so our materials have to fulfill very, very high qualities. Sometimes it's a shame for us as designers because sometimes they don't fulfill the material quality. But these materials here are proven. We have special machines for that can kind of make a quick result, find out if it works or not. Yes,
like a Nürburgring test just for fabric.
Exactly, stretching with 50,000 turnings in a minute or something like that. So really to imitate the aging effect of the use when you slide over it with the jeans or so. Yes. Yeah,
we took a look at those fabrics, but there's even more because of the the wooden style material we talked about. So you told me earlier this is not exactly the plant, but it looks almost like it's like a sample.
A little bit. So mainly this nice object here shows the idea of an enclosed cycle, and we are using a very new material called Karun. And it's made out of the rattan palm tree. These rattan chairs, they are very light and durable. And here the company has also found some manufacturing process to give it a more appealing, more modern look. And it's very, very light. It grows very fast. It grows in the rainforest where we don't need to add any water to it. And we even do something good by harvesting the material, because these materials, they are laying around on the ground and take away the oxygen. And by harvesting the material, we can even support the big trees to grow even better, which is even better for the CO2 situation.
And you don't need like a massive monoculture where you tear down the rainforest and then put something on it.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the unique thing about it. So I think this is the most sustainable wood that we can find ever.
That's really interesting. I mean, it feels, like matte and natural. Mm-hmm. It kind of feels like, the other wood veneers we find today in nowadays cars. So you wouldn't really see a big difference or feel a big difference. I think it's also again like this, Scandinavian furniture style with the, with the bright style and also, with the lines in it.
Yes.
So Would this actually be also your favorite pick for your own vehicle?
I would love to try out, and we are working on it.
Thank you so much for the insight.
Thank you.
And now we're going to talk to Andreas Hintenach. He's the head of battery research at Daimler. And of course, we want to know, what did you think about the concept? Which battery is the right one for this concept? And, where are we at the moment with the battery development and research? And where are we heading to?
At the moment, we are in the state of advanced lithium-ion, so we already have a lot of energy density, and price came down significantly over the last 10 years. So we're actually in good shape at the moment, but pushing the boundaries will happen. So the concept you have seen here already features the organic battery. That's maybe the most advanced concept we can think about. No rare earth elements anymore, no precious metals, no toxic materials, only materials that we can directly source from agriculture and the ocean.
So how realistic is that? Or can you give like a year's prediction for those organic batteries?
It's about 15 years down the road. So give you a rough example, it already works in the laboratory, but it's certainly not yet a serious development. It's years away from production technology. We don't yet know how to make very large cells out of it, but it lives already in a concept car in lab.
So we have the battery density, we have the cost, then of course also security, or safety, and of course the sustainability, because electric cars, they often criticize all the raw material stuff, and also like energy consumption in the production process and so on. So what can you do there as a manufacturer to improve that?
The current situation with the lithium-ion systems in the so-called life cycle assessment that takes into account production, the whole lifetime with the energy you need for driving, as well as the recycling later on, shows that today's electric cars are already much better than the cars with the combustion engines. So the saying about electric vehicles that might be worse than combustion engine has never been true.
So that's because some of those studies, they assume that they, for example, break down after 125,000 kilometers or something,
We do whatever we can that the battery really lives as long as the whole vehicle. And the truth is, at the moment, the battery even survives the rest of the vehicle because all the engineering went into the effort making lifetime as long as possible.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier, that you sometimes need used batteries for research, but there's like a scarcity of used batteries because they just hold, right?
There's even a scarcity for batteries for the recycling processes because the battery live as long as, even longer than we had expected it. They don't break down in the field. We have to tear down vehicles that might be still usable just to study how they age.
So your prediction is that lithium-ion will be around for how many years, and which technologies will maybe replace lithium-ion technology?
Well, we will see the advanced lithium-ion technology still for another 10 to 15 years, but the increase of the market will happen via new technology. So you will add the new market segments with new technologies. So lithium-ion might remain stable, but won't grow as fast as the market will grow.
So people often say like batteries, electric vehicles, they have certain challenges, something like infrastructure, then it's the range, then it's the cost. So what's your assessment? Which is the core problem you still need to solve?
Well, cost certainly needs to come down a little more just to make even cars financially sustainable. We brought them to excellent sustainability with the raw materials, but they need to be financially also sustainable. And with the new technology we foresee, we can get there. Range is certainly in the range that is acceptable. Fast charging is, we see a lot of push from the market towards fast charging, making fast charging even faster.
Yeah, about fast charging, how good is it actually for the battery to really fast charge, and which technologies can you apply to save the life of a battery? You think about also like those supercharging stations really like pushing everything in, and then you can maybe just charge at home very slowly, which is supposed to be better for the battery. So what would you maybe give an advice for the electric car driver or future electric car drivers? What's the best thing to charge the batteries? Or are there systems where you say the customer doesn't need to take care of that, just charge whatever?
With our current EQC, I can promise you, whatever you do, you cannot handle it in the wrong way because the battery management system takes care of that. You will feel that the higher the state of charge, so the filling level of electricity gets higher, it slows down the fast charging after a certain % of state of charge. This is just to protect the battery. With the next generation of battery technology, this limit will be pushed towards higher limits. So fast charging will get faster and will fill more energy in a shorter time. But I can promise you, even today, you cannot handle it in the wrong way. And actually, that's a good news from the driver perspective, because you don't, as a driver, don't have to care about it. But your observation is absolutely right. The colder it is, the more challenging it gets to do fast charging, the slower it gets. And new technologies will help us, in particular, to mitigate that issue at a cold winter day, that fast charging becomes a hurdle.
So if I, as a customer, want to do like the very best for my battery, for maintenance and so on, and for long-term, durability and stuff, what would you say? Like, what would be the best way to charge? Leaving like speed and comfort beside.
Actually, the best way, as you had described, to charge it at home, where you have a perfect outlet, where you usually have 6 to 8 hours of charging time overnight. The car won't need that, but also a utility company will be happy if you don't charge too fast. Keep it between 10 and 80% state of charge. For example, in the EQC, you can set the limit manually and limit it in the range, so you get a recommendation how to even improve your behavior. But even if you fully charge your vehicle every day, the battery management system takes care that you don't damage it.
So, and you deal a lot with current issues, but of course also future issues. But what would be your vision, like for the battery technology and also for the electric vehicles, when you just can imagine something?
Well, usually faster is better. That's the typical way of life. If you could improve the fast charging, let's say to 5 minutes instead of half an hour, this would be perfect. Almost equal refilling gasoline. So the use case for all those people that don't have an outlet at their apartment or in their garage would be actually perfect. And actually dropping down the price even further would enable the mass market penetration much faster. And if you think back, that life cycle assessment of the electric vehicle is much better than the combustion engine, would leverage the increase in the market.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
So, well, guys, what do you think if you think about the Mercedes of the future? Would you imagine that actually? I mean, we could start discussing now like different exterior lines and also that, the interior as, those lying chairs concept and so on, that's not really realistic and so on. But I think more important this time is more the message that the car sends, because so far, I mean, there was maybe Tesla as a manufacturer that really, was very invested in sustainability and saying like, for example, like we don't want to earn as much money as possible. We want to make a more sustainable mobility world. And now Mercedes also goes in this direction and saying like, we really want to commit to more sustainability, like in every single aspect, like recycling in the whole production process, less use of materials, less use of resources, more sustainable batteries, and more research in battery development, and of course also animal-free materials in the interior with very high or maybe full recycling quota for that. And I think that's the real important thing here, so that this actually changes the direction and they really make a strong commitment. Of course, we will test them if they hold their word, also in the upcoming reviews and from the real cars. But the thing is, you do those concepts to guide the way a little bit, and then this should also have a big impact on the real production cars, even if some of those single elements will not actually come in real production cars. So that's my assessment here for today. Very interesting, I think, and I mean, yeah, it's definitely a new key development, and I think other manufacturers will and also will have to follow on this path. So because sustainability is of course about ethics, yes, but it's also about investment. Like 1/4 of all investments globally are meanwhile done in like sustainable rated companies or companies which are like best in their segment as for sustainability. So there's also actually pressure of money. Yeah, so different aspects here applying to actually maybe a better world. Some things are really going very bad at the moment, but there are also glimpses of hope, even in an industry that is not really famous, for being very good or very sustainable for the world. But that can possibly also change. I hope you enjoyed this insight here for today, and also tune in to more episodes here from the CES.
I'm going to be spending some time at the BMW exhibition here to see what they're coming up with in terms of technology and moving away from being not just a hardcore traditional automobile manufacturer, but also to a company that is figuring out solutions for mobility, sustainability, and technology. So like their hashtag says, let's change perception and let's go check it out. This here is the BMW i3 Urban Suite. So inside as well, we have the large single lounge seat. And in the future, we can imagine that, for example, you could call this as either an autonomous taxi or with a driver, and it would come pick you up, and you have this nice space on the inside to either relax, get some work done. I mean, getting inside, I can already show you that there's also a TV screen that I can retract from the top over here, and I can watch Netflix or Amazon. And there's also a nice table on the left hand side where I can probably keep some of my my laptop or my books. Even the footrest can be moved back and forth. So in this way, you don't need to have a very large footprint like the X7 to have this overall lounge experience. So I for one would much rather have my Ubers in the shape of this rather than some old Toyota Camrys all the time. But it'll be some time before we see something like this out on the open roads. One of the things that BMW is showcasing here at the CES 2020 is the interior design in terms of the new seat. They're calling it the ZeroG, and this is a up-and-coming design concept that they want to implement in the next few years, especially once their cars start becoming more autonomous. And we'll take a closer look once we get inside, but essentially it's a full reclining seat for the passenger, where it still meets crash regulations and rollover protection regulations, but you can have a fully reclined seat. So let's take a look inside and see how this changes the paradigm of long-distance driving in cars. So I am sitting inside now the X7 with the lounge, ZeroG lounge seat. So far it doesn't seem any different than the standard X7, but things are going to get quite different, right, Carlos?
Absolutely. Not only do you have an induction charging station for your phone right here in the center console, you also have the ZeroG lounger blanket, so if you want a little extra luxury or warmth.
So walk me through what's different about the seat. What's special about it? How is this going to change my whole the paradigm of being driven around in a car?
Wow, that's a lot. Absolutely, but it will. When I tried it out yesterday, I was very skeptical. Now I'm a true believer. So the ZeroG lounger gives you a feeling of weightlessness, like you're in space, with added extra safety as well. For example, I'm just going to go ahead and start the mechanism, and it'll basically put you into the relaxed position. Your screen is going to drop down, and you'll start off with a little vision of an astronaut, just to give you that feeling of weightlessness, because it is the ideal natural relaxation position. Next is comfort. As you see, you feel no pressure on your spine or the muscles, but how could you really relax without safety? So safety is really important. You have the integrated seat belt that works in tandem with the special rails underneath the seat. Those rails will absorb the energy during a crash, and we also have special anti-submarining seats. That means that the seat will keep you in position, safely locked in with the seat belt, so you don't slide it into the floorboard and create lots of damage to your body.
Really interesting. Okay, so the Cocoon airbags are replacing the standard airbags in the front, or are they in addition to that?
In addition to the side airbags. So it will replace the front airbag. There's one on the left, one on the right, and they'll come around and completely cocoon you. And now we're just going to take off and drive. You're going to the relaxed position, which is about a 40-degree angle, and once we get on the road, I'll throw you into sleep mode as well.
Sounds great. I mean, one of the things that I would say that, in this position, I don't really have a clear view out the window, and perhaps a lot of people might start feeling, a little bit of motion sickness. How do you guys counteract this?
What a great question. You see on the screen, we have these little triangle trapezoidal shapes. Those play in conjunction with your eyes and your brain to counteract the illness that you feel, the nausea you feel from motion sickness. So if Steve hits the right turn signal, all those little trapezoids will start moving to the right, help to counteract those feelings of motion sickness. So now you're in sleep position, approximately 60 degrees, and from here I can adjust the calves, the headrest. We're really happy to present this to everyone because usually I don't get to play with prototypes or concepts. So this is not complete, but it is a really good start. So here you'll feel the weightlessness, the security of all our safety features, and comfort. That cushion is firm but still supportive.
Yeah, I also like the pillow that you have in the back. Really takes the weight off of the neck. And also the music and the ambient lighting. I think overall it is a very relaxing experience for sure. So I see that now you're controlling my seat. So in the future, would this be perhaps a touchpad that I can, use to change the seat positions, or is it voice command? How would I interact with the car to change these different, these different aspects?
You'll be able to control the seat not only from knobs on the seat, but also with the Hey BMW. Our intelligent voice commands have gotten so much better. Before it was just a list of commands, call mom. Now it understands slang and dialect. So could you imagine saying, hey BMW, put me in sleep position? Or you and your wife. Your wife is position 1, you're position 2. Hey BMW, put my seat in position 2. And the seat will respond.
Yeah, I can totally see how, once this comes out of the prototype phase back into production, you guys can improve on this with things that you already have in your seats right now, with ventilation, with heating, massaging functions, maybe more contoured armrest and so on. But I'm done lying down, so what would happen if I wanted to kind of wake back up if I'm nearing the end of my journey?
Well, I just activated the wake up protocol, so now it'll bring you forward a little bit. On the screen, you'll see that wonderful sunrise over Mother Earth, slowly waking you up and bringing you back to reality.
So I think this is a great application once, BMW cars become fully autonomous, that, the car is not just a vehicle to get from place to place, but it's also kind of a first-class experience.
Absolutely agreed. Right now I can see it in the passenger seat, I can see it in the back, but once you reach level 4, absolutely. A place to meditate, relax, balance your checkbook, the options are yours. Let's make the time in the car valuable.
Well said. So we had a couple practical experiences with the X7 ZeroG Lounger as well as the i3 Urban Suite, but where can these concepts go in the future? And to help me, realize this or understand this, I have Paul and Matt here with me from BMW. And what do we have here next to us? This is the iInteraction E. So can you tell me a little bit about what you're trying to highlight with this showcase?
Absolutely. So what we wanted to take was all of those different elements that you were able to experience. So the ZeroG seat, the rear entertainment seating of the Urban Suite, and really put that in one concept that talks about how do you want to interact with this once there's no steering wheel in front of you. So really redefining what these new interactions need to be. So what gesture should be, when touch should be involved, when eye tracking should be involved, and try to make it as natural to interact with this new space as possible.
Great. So walk me through the steps. So I'm coming up to, let's say I've called this, this kind of robot taxi, autonomous vehicle to come pick me up. So where does my experience with this begin?
Right, so one of the cool things we can do is when you approach the vehicle, we have this smart glass film on the window. And as like a warm-up to your experience inside the vehicle, when it recognizes you, it can go transparent and give you a little glimpse of the experience you're about to have and get you some familiarity before you actually enter the space. As you approach the vehicle, we've worked hard to have the intelligent personal assistant that we currently have on screen now kind of transform itself into physical surfaces as well. So we have this cool interactive light carpet guiding you into the space. And then as we come up into the sculpture, this light carpet transforms into the floor and guides you into your seat.
All right, that looks really inviting, so I'm going to hop in. So these surfaces are also somehow intelligent or smart, right? So they have a lot of lights inside. They can sense different things and adapt to my my requirements. So I'm inside now. So what else can I do with this concept?
So really these interactive features are meant to be throughout the entire space. So the intelligent personal assistant helps you guide through your interactions as well as make sure that you're familiar with the environment around you. So the first opportunity that we have is to explore the Explore mode, and that really takes you to the environment that's surrounding you. and says how do you be more connected to this and how do you actually understand more than you currently can about the environment around you. So just by browsing with your gaze, browsing by looking left to right, you're able to experience and find out new information about the city that you're currently in. If we continue and you want to select, you actually are able to point and move to the next scene and understand what actually is happening at that location.
If you would like to go. So right now I picked the concert because that got my attention. So it's playing maybe a little bit of a glimpse of what I can expect at the show. It's connected to my personal calendar, so it tells me if I'm available or not, and I guess it's connected to my social media, so it tells me if any of my friends are going. Okay.
So exploring the environment around you is very important, but we also wanted to make sure that you had a full entertainment mode. So with our panoramic heads-up display, we're actually able to do a fully immersive theater mode where you have full A-pillar to A-pillar display that's actually reflected on the dash around you. So if you actually confirm right now, you can get it. Perfect, yep. So you can see the smart glass to the left dimmed, so now you have a private viewing experience. You have the full panoramic heads-up display, as well as the set extension going beyond on the dash that's really making this an immersive experience.
So apart from, I mean, I see this heads-up display is a really great idea because it's not a separate screen which is taking up real estate. It's part of the windshield, I guess, which is now becoming the heads-up display for me.
Yeah. So really, you know, we're enabling you to have this large format display without taking up all the physical real estate that a traditional LCD display would normally have. So you don't have this giant black rectangle kind of looming when you're not using it. So one of the other modes we can do as well is the relax mode. And so we'll go into relax mode. And so what this does is it really transforms the space into a place for rest and relaxation for the user. So where we originally had all these sensors and technologies kind of providing you with content and information around your surroundings, now we can kind of put these things in the background and really tune out and really rest and relax ourselves. So if you want to go ahead and activate the seat, you can go in full recline.
Okay, so this is kind of like that ZeroG seating, the concept that we saw earlier today. Okay, so essentially, you know, the travel on the road now has become something which is just, you know, it doesn't take the forefront anymore. I can either be entertained, I can be working, I can be relaxing or resting, and the car is just taking me to where I need to be. And yeah, I also see this, I don't have to have buttons, I can just use these smart gestures, and with eye tracking as well. It's a really connected system, and as well as that, I mean, so if I'm driving through the city in this vehicle of the future, and I want coffee, I see a Starbucks next to me, I can, if I gaze at it, will the car recognize that I'm looking at Starbucks and maybe give me some information about that?
Yeah, right. So it's all about using these technologies in natural interaction to really enable the user to have these experiences within the car and really enable and empower them to get more information about things that matter to them most. So.
Great. Well, this certainly seems to be a very interesting future. I wonder how far away this is from being something that I could use, you know, right away on my Uber app. Do you have an idea? I mean, or is it just it's a concept that you're validating right now, and it could be something in the next 10, 15, 20 years?
Right. So as an overall cohesive concept, this is something probably like more 10 years out. We're looking at full autonomy, really enabling the user to kind of really have these full-blown experiences on the interior. Outside of that, though, we are using these different sensors like gaze, gesture, touch. All these things are currently in production or being actively developed by different groups at BMW. So everything that you've actually experienced in here is something that's currently being produced or being developed at the moment. And so it's basically a full-blown interaction experience of current technology, and some of this stuff will be in the market as soon as 2021.
Great. Well, it's really interesting, and I'm excited to see this technology rolling out as it is here, you know, in autonomous cars in the future. I'm here with Mr. Holger Hamm from BMW Design Works. Holger, thank you so much for taking time to speak with us today here at the CES 2020. So I wanted to start off by asking you some very generic questions, about what the design is going to look like in the future now that BMW is also becoming more electric and autonomous. We had a glimpse of this with the BMW iNext, but in your view, what needs to stay the same? Perhaps things like the kidney grille. What needs to be adapted and what needs to be phased out as we move into this next era?
I think we're moving into a very exciting next area for BMW. In 2017, Adrian van Hooijdonk, the head of BMW Group Design, started to talk about a new form language for BMW specifically. And you see this now coming to life in our products like the iNext. You talked about the kidney grille, you've seen the Series 4 concept car, and you see kind of new ways of interpreting iconic design elements from the past. So we kind of take a new look, a fresh look at our form language, and you will see this come in many of the new products that we introduce this decade.
Yeah, so going further along with this, I mean, traditionally, as an automotive enthusiast, BMW has always been about sheer driving pleasure. And now, with the future of mobility as a whole being considered, what needs to change? You're trying to change the perception of the brand in terms of mobility. And so what needs to change in terms of design to communicate this to the customer?
Well, we have been talking about two very distinct driving experiences, ease and boost. I think you will be seeing cars in the portfolio that can do either or very well, or they can do both together. So the iNext is definitely a car that can deliver an ease and a boost scenario. Boost is very well known to our customers and to you as well. It is something that BMW stands for, and it's also kind of clear that we will continue to deliver this experience, the ultimate driving machine, the fun in driving, the pleasure that is connected with this. But with autonomous driving, new features and technologies are entering the car. And with this, I think we will also see new shapes and new styling cues that support the message of being driven. And being driven can equally be fun in a BMW. I think it is not always about driving a car yourself. It is very dependent on the context in which you're using the car, and sometimes it might actually be more fun to be driven. So again, you will see different expressions of ease and boost in our portfolio. And I think it's starting with the new 8 Series, for example. It's a wonderful car that really exemplifies a boost experience to me. When it comes to iNext, you can easily believe that this is a car where you also rely on assistance systems, level 3, level 4, and let the car do the work for you.
Fantastic. And we have a couple examples, like you mentioned, for the ease side of things here today at the CES. And one is right behind us, the iInteraction Ease, aptly named, as well as the i3 Urban Suite. Yeah. So maybe you can give us a little bit about, the things you mentioned about how we're trying to combine boost and ease together, and how, the change in design needs to change the perception as well, and how that's reflected in these two examples that you're showcasing at the fair.
Well, to put these two things together, I think starting with the i3 Urban Suite, it is really about showing that a luxurious, a premium experience can be possible on a very small footprint. Everyone knows the current i3 for a very small car, and with the Urban Suite and some transformation on the interior, we really showcase that you can have a very private, comfortable, luxurious experience in a very small car. So this is something to be experienced. With the Interaction Ease behind me, we're taking this one step further. And this is obviously not a vehicle yet. It is, I would call it a sculpture of an interior space and how we feel an interior space should look like in the future. And more specifically, how the interaction between you and an interior should feel in the future. Very, very natural. There shouldn't be any kind of thinking how to interact with the car, to interact with it via speech or via gesture. It should come very natural. So this is really taking any of the current concepts like the urban suite or the iNext to the next level, and actually takes us to a place where autonomous driving is commonplace, where there is no steering wheel anymore in the car.
Well, that's very interesting. Holger, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to seeing some of these technologies out in real cars, in production cars in the near future.
Thank you very much for your time.
It was really interesting to go to the CES 2020 and see the automobile industry from a different perspective. Not just being an OEM manufacturer, but also an incubator for technology and mobility. The BMW showcases that we saw are, I think, really interesting, and I totally see how these can be very useful in the future as we move towards more electrification and autonomous driving. But what about you guys? What do you feel about this? Is it something you are looking forward to, or are you more interested in driving the car yourself? And what do you feel about these technologies, and what would you like to see? Put it down in the comments below.